inserts.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Raton City Commission to order. We have roll call, please, Des.
Sure. Mayor Sagata,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Schuster,
Present.
Commissioner Chavez,
Present.
Commissioner Giacomo, and Commissioner Chatterley.
Could you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody to the meeting tonight, online and in person. Our next regular commission meeting will be Tuesday, June 28th, 6 p.m. here in the chambers. At this time, we will take items from citizens present. Anyone wishing to address the commission at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on. Item 6A, deliberate and act on approval of May 24, 2022 regular meeting minutes and the June 7th, 2022 special meeting minutes. Y'all should have had a chance to go over them.
Mr. Mayor, if we can we do these separately? I missed one of the meetings.
Sure,
I'd like to abstain from that.
sure, absolutely.
I missed the,
Me too.
yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the May 24th, 2022 regular meeting minutes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the May 24th regular meeting minutes. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, vote by the sign of aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Entertain a motion on the June 7th special meeting minutes.
I will move to approve the June 7th special meeting minutes.
I'll second. A motion and a second to approve the June 7th special meeting minutes. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, vote by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
One abstention.
One abstention, and record will show one abstention, yes. Thank
And
you.
2 from the first vote.
All right, item B, deliberate and act on amendment number 3, memorandum of agreement between the city of Raton and the Schuler Restoration Corporation. Mr. Berry.
Mayor Commission, for a number of years, we've had an agreement in place between the city of Raton and Schuler Restoration for the management of the Schuler. That's been a great partnership, has really worked very well. What that original agreement says is that it authorized that arrangement for 1 year, and then it was renewable for 3 additional terms. What we have brought you is amendment number 3. That would be the last year that we could renew this agreement, and then we'd have to start the process over again. I have had some communications with Schuler Restoration Group. They have requested that we postpone any action on this extension right now. They would like a chance to meet with their board. I think myself and Jolene will also meet with their representatives, and we'll talk about a couple of things. The things that have changed, we now have the hospitality room, and we serve some libations in that. That's changed from the original agreement. I think there's some discussion we want to have on cleaning services and the revenue sharing component of that. So if you all are agreeable to that and you give us a chance to discuss those terms that are in the agreement, we anticipate bringing it back to you for the next meeting.
Alrighty, any objections?
I will move to postpone the agreement between the City of Raton and Schuler Restoration Corporation, Inc. Was that till next meeting, Mr. Berry?
That we plan on being back at the next meeting, Commissioner. I think that's June 28th.
Very good.
I'll second.
A motion and a second to postpone action on item B until the June 28th meeting. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, vote by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item C, deliberate and act on operating agreement between the City of Raton and the Colfax County Seniors, Inc. Mr. Berry, I think I'll handle that one.
That sounds like a good idea, Mayor.
Normally, we would have Monica Finkbone would be doing this, as I kind of have a little conflict here. But Monica is presenting in front of the Wagamound commission tonight, so on their agreement there. What this is basically our operating agreement saying that we will provide services to the citizens of Raton. It's, we do this every year. It's required by Aging and Long-Term Services Department as part of our budget process. If you would look on the back, Exhibit A, it tells you the projected units for fiscal year '23. We're projecting about 6,700 congregate mills. I really went low kind of there because we're still trying to see how things are bouncing back with COVID. Some days down there we'll have 15 people. Last Wednesday, I believe it was, we had 48. So that was one of our better days since we've gone back. So it's kind of hard, but we're at roughly, I think we can easily hit the 6,700, and hopefully, I'd love to see us double it. If we double it, that'd mean things were back to normal. But projected revenue, cost to do that would be about $40,000, just north of that. We're projecting about 49,000 home-delivered meals and grab-and-go meals for Raton next year. The cost of $650 a unit. That's about $319,000, almost $320,000 worth of food. And in transportation, about 2,400 units. Again, that could be a little low, as people are still a little hesitant about traveling. But anyway, this is to use for our in-kind to get away from the anti-donation clause. I've also included a little bit of information for you in your packets. I handed out revenue and expense reports. The first one is, let's look at the bottom one. City of Raton. It'll be the one that has showing an $89,650.49 positive. Right now, this was as of the end of May. But I would bring your attention up into the revenue. You see there FFCRA, CARES, and American Rescue Plan. Those are monies we received basically to compensate for COVID, the losses. If we were on a normal year and prices going the way they are going, take those out, you flip the page, you'd see Raton would be operating at about a $30,000 deficit. Part of the reasoning there is food costs have gone astronomical. We budgeted $43,000 for the Raton Senior Center this year, just on raw food. That doesn't count the federal money food. We've already spent $101,000, almost $101,500. That's 233% increase over. The other set of paper I gave you is the corporate side. That includes all 5 seniors centers. Again, same thing. If you look at the front page, about $6,500 in the positive, which is where we're at right now. But you took away that CARES money, we'd be looking at a deficit corporate-wide of about $121,000. We do have a healthy reserve. However, operating at those kind of costs, we would easily go through it. So hopefully things will change this coming year. Maybe food and gas will level off. We'll see. I would hope that would happen. I'd also report at this time, effective July 1st, Monica Finkbone will be the executive director for Colfax County Senior Citizens, and I will be stepping down. I'll be taking position of director for the non-metro area agency on aging out of Santa Fe. I will be overseeing the entire senior program for the state. So we'll see if we can get any monies going that way. The good thing about it is too, one of the good things came out of COVID is I get to telework, so I can stay in Raton. So that's a good thing. But this time I'd take any questions if anybody had any.
I think it's all pretty clear to me. I mean, you guys doing a great job with the resources you have, and I know you guys are very conscious of using those wisely and using them correctly. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I would make a motion to approve the operating agreement between the City of Raton and the Colfax County Seniors Incorporated.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? I will be abstaining from this vote, Desiree.
Okay.
All in favor, vote by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Appreciate it. Seniors appreciate it. And Des, I do have 2 copies. So Scott can, I guess we should ask for you. Well, it just says city official. It doesn't say mayor, so city representative. So you
Okay.
can get those. Monica's got them signed and you can get Scott to sign them.
Okay.
We're good to go. Item D, deliberate and act on engineering services proposal from High Tech E&D LLC for Arthur Johnson Memorial Library mechanical boiler replacement. Mr. Barry?
Mayor Commission, the next couple of items, actually, we're gonna talk about mechanical equipment, specifically boilers at city facilities. Before the meeting, Jason and I flipped a coin, and he is gonna answer your questions in regard to the mechanical boiler replacement at the Arthur Johnson Memorial Library. Thank you, Jason.
Mayor Commission, City Manager Barry. So the Arthur Johnson Memorial Library boiler project is a straightforward replacement of an aged-out boiler. Boiler was placed in the 1990s and has a leaking heat exchanger. It is functioning at this point, with the current temperature is not necessary. But the boiler is a steam boiler, which is an antiquated design that turns water into steam, pipes it through the building through radiators, much like your elementary schools. And it is something that's not real common. Our proposal is to replace that boiler, but at this time, we don't feel we have the budget resources to replace the existing boiler with a new complete hot water system, which would pipe hot water in lieu of steam through brand new piping, and it would probably triple the cost of this project. So we've come up with a compromise solution where we would replace the existing steam boiler with a hybrid boiler system that would initially be a steam boiler, could utilize the existing piping, get up online quicker, but with the assumption that at the time we purchased this boiler, we would have the successful contractor provide the hybrid kit to switch it from steam to hot water in the future. That way, 5 years from now, when budget allows and we have the resources, we would go in, replace all of the piping and the radiator systems throughout the building with the hot water system. The boiler would still probably have about 20 to 25 years of life anticipated at that point, but it kind of gives us the best of both worlds. We get a little reliability now, but we do get the efficiency and the redundancy of a new boiler system going forward. One of the things that Ms. Baca will look at in this design process is much like the convention center, right now we have a single boiler at the library. If it doesn't work in January, the temperatures dip low, we could potentially have a freezing pipe situation and a significant damage to the library. So we're gonna study the ability to put a dual boiler system, much like the convention center has. In the event one fails, the second boiler isn't sized enough to probably keep the building at 68 or 70 degrees, but it would alone be able to keep the building at 55 plus and keep the space heated. Ms. Baca's proposal also includes architectural services and electrical engineering services. And this building has no current plans in CAD, so Mr. Little would have to do some drafting. And Antonio Sanchez would be tasked with putting together an electrical design to make sure that we don't burn the building down. But it's a very cost-effective proposal at $16,400. The next question is usually what's the total project cost gonna be? 24 months ago, I'd have guessed this is probably a 50,000 or less project. Right now, I'd pin it at 75K, and I'm a little unsure that that's enough. I'm happy to stand for any questions if anyone has them.
Are there any questions for Mr. Barry or Mr. Phillips?
Nope.
Jason standing.
Needs to be done.
Commissioners, I would note that on the agreement, they have set it up for signature by Jason Phillips and myself. If you are entertaining approval of the agreement, if you could include that authorization for us to sign the engineering agreement.
I make a motion to approve the engineering services proposal from High Tech E&D LLC for Arthur Johnson Memorial Library mechanical boiler replacement, authorizing Mr. Phillips and Mr. Berry to execute that agreement.
A motion and a second to accept the proposal from High Tech E&D for the Arthur Johnson Memorial Library boiler replacement. Is there any further discussion? Discussion. That's a question and a discussion all at once.
Yep, none of the above.
Alrighty, all in favor, vote by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, thank you.
Thank you.
Item E, deliberate and act on aquatic center repairs and maintenance project change orders number 2 and 3, Mr. Barron.
Mayor Commission, just an update to our previous discussions in regard to improvements at the Aquatic Center. We did some time ago take bids on phase 2 of some general improvements at the Aquatic Center. A lot of that concerns improvements that are necessary in the shower rooms, and we've suffered from some poor plumbing and just some wear and tear in those. And so we did bid that, and that work has been ongoing, and there have been a number of elements in that project. What I bring you here are 2 change orders, change order number 2 and change order number 3. Change order number 2 generally consists of improvements that we would like to do with Mozark, the contractor that we hired for HVAC improvements. And then change order number 3 is issue with the boiler at the Aquatic Center. So looking at change order number 2, we've added up a number of tasks that we've talked to Mozark about. They have given us a total fixed amount for this HVAC work of $18,372.10. So let's go down the list here real quick. We have a very large HVAC unit on the roof of the Aquatic Center. As you can imagine, we have to move a lot of air in that facility. And item A would be the replacement of the 3 main bearings. We also, since we started talking about this, have lost a blower motor, and currently we want to get this repaired because we don't really have that ventilation going on, so that's in there. The contractor will diagnose and replace an ignition control module on the domestic hot water system. That's not related to the pool heating that we're going to talk about under the next change order. That's something different. This has been complete. Diagnose and replace a low water cutoff on the pool heater, remove and clean burners. And while the contractor has done that, in the next change order, I'm going to recommend that we replace that unit to you. So that was a maintenance chore that was done. The contractor will diagnose and repair forced air and unit heater and remove and replace an exhaust fan. It's a little more HVAC that we have. Actually, on this building, we have a rooftop HVAC that's got some problems right now, so we would also have Mozart look at that. So that's what you're getting for the contract increase of $18,372.10. Answer any questions you might have on that. I will also discuss change order number 3 that I bring to you, and in our analysis of the boiler, that's the boiler that heats pool water. Earlier, we had replaced burners on that. That's a couple of years ago. And then now we have this problem with the heat exchanger. But in looking at that, the cost of replacing that heat exchanger is probably in excess of $15,000. We did look as an alternative, just replacement of the boiler, and I bring an alternative that I'm going to recommend to you, that we replace the boiler instead of continue to replace parts on it. And we'll wind up with a boiler that we can count on for 10 years and will be more energy efficient. The price that we've got for replacement of this boiler is $32,533. That's my recommendation to you. The caveat is that the boiler is 9 weeks out. And so with the work that we described earlier, we are running on the existing boiler. We're really limping along on it without these additional improvements. And 9 weeks, that's pretty much the summer. So I think that we probably will have some periods where we need to really babysit this boiler to make it through the summer, but it is running. We are operating on the pool. We've got those two issues with, a compromised operation of the boiler, and then the ventilation is, we need to get this blower motor in. So, we combine those under the one item. You can handle those as you want to, but our recommendation is approval of change order number 2 and change order number 3.
Any questions for Mr. Berry?
I'll make a motion to approve the project funded repairs and maybe project change order number 2 and number 3.
I'll second.
A motion and a second to accept the change orders and to approve them for orders number 2 and 3 for the Aquatic Center and City Hall. Is there any further questions or discussion? All in favor, vote by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item G, deliberate and act on human resource development and Associates Inc. notice of subcontract termination for services provided under CYFD agreement 21-690-3200-20841-03. Mr. Barry.
Who wants to bring it up?
Did I F?
The Lamar billboard.
Well, that tells you something there.
There you go.
It'll be quick.
I'm sorry. I scratched F off when we voted on the Aquatic Center. Item F, let's try that. Deliberate and act on Lamar billboard proposal. Mr. Berry.
Mayor and Commission, what you have in your packet is general location of, looks like 6 potential billboards. And I believe that the Lodgers Tax Advisory Board has received this proposal. I don't see a recommendation from them, but Desiree, did you attend that meeting? Do you have
I
information?
did, and I know that Michael Ann had asked if we would postpone this one. I don't know any fees or which one is being suggested right now, because it was kind of just where they wanted one in between Text Line and Clayton. So
And
I'm
there's
not,
actually a meeting tomorrow at 3.
yes, the next meeting is tomorrow. So I'm not exactly sure on which one, or if we're looking for a suggestion for one.
I think that would be appropriate if we could postpone the action on this and let the Lodgers Tax Advisory Board work on it a little more and send their recommendation forward to the commission for the June 28th meeting.
A lot of these locations look like the same place we had last meeting. So, do we know what ones they used from that?
You know, they kind of just said they wanted one, and I know that Michael Ann was gonna speak with the representatives, and at the last meeting, she had suggested that we postpone this one because she was still
Okay.
corresponding with them, but I don't know of any specific one that was suggested.
All right.
Well, it seems to me these are the ones that we talked about before
Yeah,
that we weren't in favor of. Personally, I'd like to see inside Clayton this way. I don't think we need any around Amarillo, personally.
Yeah,
all right, well, the recommendation is to postpone. So I would entertain a motion if that's the wishes of the commission.
So move.
Second?
A motion and a second to postpone until next meeting. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, vote by the sign of aye. Aye. Opposed?
I
Motion carries.
apologize, I missed those. I was writing a note real quick of what Mr. Chavez said, so I could suggest it to the Lodgers Tax Board tomorrow. The motion and the second.
She made a motion and I seconded it, or
I
did
think
I?
opposite, yeah, you made.
I made the motion
Okay.
and she seconded it.
Perfect, thank you, sorry about that.
No
Not a
problem.
problem. Okay, now let's try this one. Item G, deliberate and act on Human Resource Development Associates, Inc., notice of subcontract termination for services provided under CYFD Agreement 21-690-3200-20841 2022-03.
Mr. Barry just went to go get Michael Ann.
Okay, so Michael Ann is going to discuss this one with us. I know we've had some conversations with Scott. The current contractor, I guess, is no longer gonna be the contractor. And they will be going out for bid for the services. That's just the 30,000 foot level view
Yeah.
of this.
Yeah.
So,
It is for boys council and girls circle.
right. There she comes. Did you hear the one about the city clerk and the city manager?
Good evening. Sorry to keep you waiting. The budget adjustment that I gave you earlier, I was second guessing myself and already revised it again. So I'm gonna pass that out again. So I apologize. Let's see, which item are we on?
We are on the HRDA contract.
Okay, so in your packet, we have a letter that was provided to us at our advisory board meeting for the JJAC board. This meeting took place last week. Walter V. Hill has provided a formal notice to the city of Raton that HRDA, due to pending retirements, will no longer be able to fulfill the terms of the subcontract for the Girls Circle, Boys Council, and also the restorative justice programs. So he did deliver this to the board, and I bring it to you this evening just as a matter of the formal notice under the terms of our subcontract. So what this means is that at the previous meeting, we did execute the new agreement with CYFD for the fiscal year. So that is pending final signature from the state. So we've secured the grant again for another fiscal year. And then come July 1, what our intention is to advertise an RFP this week for a new subcontract. And then we would hope to maybe bring a recommendation to you at the first meeting in July to award to a new subcontractor. So there is still a process with CYFD. Once a subcontractor is selected, then we would submit our selection to them for final approval. And then once that approval was received, we could start the youth programs again. So the CYFD contract does stipulate that we have to get the programs up and running within 90 days of the new fiscal year. So I'm confident that that gives us plenty of time to go through the process and select a new subcontractor. So that's kind of where we're at. Walter V. Hill did extend his appreciation to the city, and unfortunately, he's sad that he'll have to close the Raton offices. They've provided services to the community under various different programs for quite a few years. So he did recommend that hopefully the facilitators that have been involved in these programs, that maybe the new subcontractor would be willing to employ them. So just because they've already received the training.
Sure.
So
I'll move to approve the Human Resources Development Association 8 notice of subcontract termination for services under CYFD Agreement 21-61-20841-3003.
All right.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agreement. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, vote by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item H, deliberate and act on Stantec Consulting Services contract for Brownfield Program Services. Mr. Barry?
Mayor and Commission, previously we had talked about the request for proposals issued by the city of Raton for professional services related to a brownfield program, and the commission did award a contract to Stantec Consulting Services. In your packet, you have the professional services agreement. I had told you at the time that we would expect the primary task would be to prepare a grant application for funding through the EPA Brownfield program. There's been quite a bit of funding funneled to that, and I think Raton is a great candidate for that. But that application is really takes a specialist to prepare and submit, and it's something that we've talked about for a couple of years, and we have received some support from New Mexico Environment Department and their brownfield program, but we still would like to submit this application. It's due this fall, and that's what we had talked about, is retaining this consultant with the initial task of preparing and helping us submit that application. And then, of course, there would be, if we were successful and we were funded, there would be brownfield related services after that. So that's what's reflected in your professional services agreement. And back to what I was going to say, I told you to expect about up to $50,000 to prepare this grant application. However, Stantec proposes to help Raton prepare and submit the application for $2,000. So they will be here later this week as a kickoff meeting with our staff. Following your approval of the agreement, I would certainly recommend approval of the agreement to the Raton City Commission.
All righty, and I would just note that Mr. Berry is set up as the signatory on this, so any motion would please include Scott there.
I'll make a motion to do it just as said.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve the contract between the City of Raton and Stantec Consulting Services with Mr. Berry as the signatory. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, vote by sign of aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item I, deliberate and act on resolution 2022-32, participation in municipality cooperative agreement with New Mexico Department of Transportation, grant agreement L400598. Mr. Berry.
Mayor and Commission, you'll recall back in March, we talked about applications to the local government road fund. One of the programs we're eligible for is cooperative agreement program. We did submit an application. That would be for pavement resurfacing of various streets in the New Mexico Town Company second subdivision. And we applied for a project that would total $150,000. We have found out this week that the good news is we were successful and we're funded for that, and you have the grant agreement offer in your packet. And then the other news is it's significantly less than what we asked for. The total project is $16,667, and if we break down the 75% DOT share and the 25% City of Raton share, DOT would offer us $50,000 for this project in grant funds, and the City of Raton, by your consideration of this resolution, would commit to $16,667. That's a maximum for them, that's a minimum for us. If it goes over, we pay anything that's over. What I would propose to the commission is that we still try to do the full project, but we try to do part of this with city crews. And so I've given you a budget, estimated summary of costs and quantities, in which we have deleted a couple of the contractor items, and we would propose doing that with city labor and city equipment. This is a chip seal type of resurfacing. As we've said before, it's a type of process where we lay down 2 layers of chips and then we put a fog seal over the top of that. That's what we did on 5th Street here a couple of years ago, and I think that was really a successful project. So if you can remember what 5th Street looks like, that's what we would do on these streets. These streets also will take quite a bit of prep work before we chip seal it. So that's something that we would do at any rate, but the streets are really in poor condition. I'll kind of go through a list of streets. It includes parts of Lopez Street, Buena Vista Street, Boundary Street, East 7th Street, and East 8th Street, generally located in the New Mexico Town Company second subdivision. So that would be my recommendation to you, is that we approve the resolution. And that would commit the city of Raton to $16,667 of cost sharing. And then also the estimated summary of costs and quantities, which says that we would commit city labor and city equipment to the project.
Alrighty, any questions for Scott?
Sounds good. I will move to approve resolution 2022-32.
Second.
Alrighty, we have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 2022-32. Participation in the co-op agreement with New Mexico Department of Transportation. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, vote by the sign of aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item J, deliberate and act on resolution 2022-33, budget adjustment number 15 for fiscal year 22. And Michael Ann just stepped out, so Mr. Barry, we'll let you take over for a minute.
Mayor and Commission, you did receive a late revision to the proposed budget adjustment. We are coming up on the end of the fiscal year. This will continue for a couple of meetings until we really close out the present fiscal year budget and adjust to the new fiscal year budget. I will call on our city clerk, Michael Ann. She has been working on, in this case, our city treasurer. She has been working on this bar right up to meeting time. And so it's fresh in her mind, and Michael Ann will let you go through the individual items proposed.
Thank you. Mayor and Commission, so the first part of our bar is just typical line item adjustments. And it'll just net to zero, so we're just shifting monies from one line item to the other. So when we look at the depot project, that was one that I was kind of having some difficulty with, just kind of calculating the figures. We know that we're getting close to the end of the fiscal year. The contractor is substantially complete on the project, but because of the lengthy reimbursement process with federal highways, we know that we can't receive any form of reimbursement by June 30. So that's going to require us to transfer some additional funds from the general fund. So I have several line items here that I'm needing to adjust. So knowing that I'm not going to receive the funds from the grants, and that also includes the grant that we had for the vehicle charging stations. That's also been submitted, but it's an extremely lengthy, slow process. So I really don't anticipate that we'll get those funds either. So what I'm proposing is that we take out completely, just zero out the transfer that we were going to make back to the general fund prior to the end of the fiscal year. And then we would increase the transfer out to the depot project to allow us to have enough funds to pay the contractor and the engineer. And then in addition to the transfers, I would have to adjust the two revenue line items where I was showing the funds coming in from the two different grants. So that's where I was kind of having some trouble, was getting everything in my mind to really balance so that DFA didn't call me back and say, hey, this whole adjustment is kind of out of balance here. So by making these adjustments, I had a small beginning cash balance at the beginning of the fiscal year that carried over. And so I kind of had to take all that into consideration so that once I make these adjustments, the beginning balance plus we did receive close to 48,000 from federal highways already this year for the depot project, and so I'll take that into consideration, but then the remainder of the funds will be the transfer from the general fund to be able to pay the contractor and the engineer. So this may not be the last adjustment, but we do have an invoice that we need to pay to the engineer, and if it's not, I'll bring another adjustment at the next meeting, but this transfer in would be sufficient enough to be able to pay them for the completion of the project.
Okay. Any questions, comments?
And we may have other grants, you know, we're
Sure.
kind of in the process right now of reconciling the month of May. We don't have the financial report or the reconciliations done yet. Typically, once I've completed that process, then I can do a more comprehensive review of all of the line items and probably bring you budget adjustment number 16 at our next meeting.
Alrighty.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2022-33, budget adjustment number 15, fiscal year 22.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 2022-33. Is there any further discussion?
Thank you, Michael, for hard work.
Absolutely. All in favor, vote by the sign of aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item K, city manager report, Mr. Berry.
Thank you, Mayor. Just in case people did not catch this from our special meeting last week, I would remind the public that the commission did extend their proclamation, which restricts most types of fireworks, both the sale and the usage of most types of fireworks. That's based on an executive order issued by the governor of New Mexico that requested local government do whatever they can to restrict the use of fireworks due to the exceptional drought. And we noted at that meeting that all of Colfax County is in exceptional drought currently, and I don't see that changing before the 4th of July. And so hopefully, when we get into July, we do have something of a monsoon season. But since we've talked, there have been the occurrence of some new fires in New Mexico. It's especially dangerous right now, and so the sale or use of most types of fireworks are restricted in Raton. That's anything that goes in the air is restricted, and ground audibles are restricted. So we want the public to understand that. We will be talking about an enforcement effort between now and the 4th of July, and we have communicated that to the vendors of fireworks as well. So they're not completely restricted, but most types are restricted. We just would ask people to be very, very careful with what they do in this exceptional drought period. It's really dangerous out there right now.
I
So
would also say that the county adopted a proclamation this morning at their meeting, so.
right, yeah, it's just exceptionally dangerous, and we've been through that before. We don't need more wildfires, certainly not in Colfax County. That's so dangerous right now. So we would ask for the public's cooperation in that, and really not restricted to fireworks, but you know, any kind of outdoor burning, any fire. It's best just to play it safe and not do any of that. Even pulling a car off the highway into tall weeds, we know that some fires have started there. So anything that we do, very, very dangerous right now. I wanted to report to the commission on activities of the Public Works Department. They have commenced operations at the Hereford Avenue Convenience Center. Basically, operations there consist of solid waste transfer and recycling. We recycle number 1 and number 2 plastic, steel cans, aluminum, and corrugated cardboard. And so in previous years, we have conducted the transfer operations on Armstrong Lane, all of that outside. Whatever the weather was, our crew was out there in it doing this transfer, and now we've got a pretty nice facility. This facility, I think, will really be a first-class operation for Raton for a long time. I would expect more than 50 years, and so we invite the public to come by and kind of get used to the new processes. We will accept yard waste at the Hereford Avenue Convenience Center, paint, oil, antifreeze, and bulky waste. And so we ask people, don't dump on Armstrong Lane. Come to Hereford Avenue. We've got extended hours. We're open parts of the weekends too, because that's when a lot of people you know, are off work and can do that. But please don't dump in the alley. Don't dump by the dumpster. Don't dump on Armstrong Lane. Come to Hereford Avenue. We have staff there that will assist everybody with whatever they need to do there. So that's operational there now during normal hours, and then I believe right now they're operating on about a half a day on Saturday, but we'll put the hours out there as well.
And I was contacted by the ambassadors this afternoon. They want to do a ribbon cutting next Thursday.
Right,
I will be in Santa Fe, so I told them, Mayor Pro Tem, to get a hold of you.
and, unfortunately,
You're gonna be gone.
yeah, although
Flip a
it's
coin.
next Thursday,
Yeah.
I can attempt to change my day, but I will be in Walsenburg, so,
I'll be in Santa Fe.
so I will know Thursday if I can change that day. And if I can't, I'll be making phone calls.
Maybe we'll talk to them, and maybe we can come up with a date that, you know, everyone can make it, and we'll,
Yeah,
certainly it's something we've talked about for a long time. This is a piece of infrastructure that is very important to Raton, obviously important to the citizens. We've got a lot of comments and a lot of calls and a lot of questions. And, you know, not only do we want to make a more efficient system, but we want to have really the best solid waste operation in the state of New Mexico. That's our goal.
you'll be back Saturday? Is that when you're coming back from Santa Fe?
Yep,
So the
Yeah.
following Monday might work, huh?
yeah. Or if they wanted to do it next week, it could be Monday, Tuesday, but, the following Monday would work.
Yeah, Monday, either Monday would work for me
Yeah,
as
either
well.
Monday.
Try to schedule something in a manner where we can get word out to the public.
Mhm.
And if it helps, the hours are Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 3:30, open through the lunch hour, and Saturday 10 to 2 for non-commercial use only.
Okay.
Very good. That does help.
Let me give you an update on various construction projects that we've talked about for a while. We have scheduled asphalt paving on Clark Avenue and Third Street the rest of this week. Wednesday through Friday, we hope to complete the paving of these streets. That is the CDBG-funded project, the downtown infrastructure project, by the end of the week. What will be remaining on that will be the half a block of Clark between First and Second Street, and then pavement markings. Additionally, we need to complete pavement markings on the train station parking area. Other than that, that project is all complete, and that's what Michael Ann had talked about there. And then we anticipate getting into the renovation of the building as soon as possible. I've drafted up a request for proposals for professional services. I've contacted the State Cultural Resources Department for their review, and we would expect a lengthy process on that, but we will wrap up the parking lot project. So happy to report that. We have commenced construction on the Byron Whittier Street project. That project will consist of full reconstruction of that part of South Whittier and Byron. Those are the streets in the area of the Kmart building. There will be a lot of road closures over the next couple of weeks, but the crew is well into the project, has poured concrete on that, and we will be progressing with that project in the next few weeks. Work is ongoing on the greenhouse project. Really excited about that. The construction looks great, and we would anticipate completion of the greenhouse by mid-July. Work has started on the airport hangar. That's a project we've talked about in the past. So we're just getting into that project. We would expect it to run through October and be completed in October. The Armory electrical improvement project, a lot of the work is complete and in place. We have got hung up on delivery of a couple of electrical components. They're telling us now that we may be waiting till September to get the final components on that. So we've done pretty much the work that we can do right now until we get in these additional pieces. And there's not a lot that we can do. So hopefully it comes in sooner than that, but that's not unusual. That's typically what we hear. And I kind of refer back to the boiler, you know, where they said it's 9 weeks out. That's really the world we're operating in right now. And then lastly, I would say we expected to commence work on the two projects on the senior center, work has not started there yet, and that was the painting and stucco improvements and then roofing improvements. So we would anticipate that work will start within the next week or 10 days. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other items for just discussion? Commissioner Chatterton, Commissioner Giacomo, Commissioner
me.
Chavez, Mayor Pro Tem.
You know, just a reminder, today's Flag Day, so,
That's correct.
and, Pledge of Allegiance Day falls right on the same day, so there you
Cool.
go.
Cool. And I think Michael Land has talked to the commissioners about the policy meeting coming June 25th.
Oh, yes, I went ahead and registered the mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Commissioner Chatterley, and put that in your box.
Alrighty,
So you'll receive an email from the league.
okay,
Thank you.
alrighty. Seeing no other business, this meeting is adjourned.